Hello everyone, my name is T Hunter. If this is your first time coming to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back and thank you so much for coming back. Today's video, I was trying to steer away from reacting to more couples from this current season of Married at First Sight, but they keep giving me, so much content as well as so many thoughts, even raising my anxiety a little bit. So let's get into it. Today I will be reacting to the couple Michaela and Zack. So in the beginning, when they were doing the matchmaking special and interviewing, the different brides and grooms, with Michaela, she had expressed, her desires to be married at first sight, what she was looking for, and also in after meeting and marrying her husband at the reception, I remember her sisters were making comments about she had always been protected, and so she's going to expect that protection. People giving you the rundown. People might say she was spoiled, however you want to phrase that. And with Zack, he was very optimistic about marriage, even romanticized, because for years he had talked about wanting to be married, what he expected in a wife, just this picture perfect vision of what he would want marriage to look like, what he would want, having a family to look like, and all of that. So I believe that they both came in with, really good intentions. They wanted to be married, and they were so excited and definitely attracted to each other, which was a huge bonus. But after they got to their honeymoon location, things just started to crumble because Zack tested positive for COVID. And as a result, he had to quarantine, so therefore he could not be with his wife. So the activities that the other couples were doing on their honeymoon, Zack and Michaela missed out on those. And I think, don't quote me though, but I think it was production's idea to go ahead and send Michaela home because they weren't really going to be able to get couples footage with them since Zack was supposed to be quarantining. So keeping all of that in mind, I think that the unexpected separation that they had to have within days of getting married definitely was not helpful as far as the bond that they were trying to forge in the beginning. The more time that you spend away from someone, especially someone that you do not know, the harder it is going to be to connect with them. So fast forward, honeymoon's over. They get back to, their hometown, which is in Houston this season. And Married at First Sight, of course, picks a neutral apartment for all of the couples to live in. So they pick a complex, everybody stays there, so it's a nice community and everything. And they move into the apartment. Zack and Michaela are both excited, ready to take this journey together, and it's just so cute to see. But then they start talking about deal breakers and things that are turnoffs for them and how they interpret certain actions, words to be disrespectful, and how they don't want to be disrespected, and they definitely don't want to come across as emotionally abusive. So Michaela was telling him, hey, if ever you're going to, if you have to go somewhere and I'm asleep, do not wake me up. I know about that beauty sleep. We need it. And Zack was like, okay. And then he made a comment, or famous last words. I can't wait for our first fight. And I was like, oh gosh. So because you have now put that into the atmosphere, first fight is coming, and it's going to be coming strong. And that's exactly what happened. The very next morning, he had left to take his dog to the groomers, but the previous night, I guess, he was saying he was going to stay in the other room with his dog and make sure that the dog fell asleep, and he fell asleep and never came back. So Michaela interpreted that as, well, you know what? I'm not going to say how she interpreted it because I'm not in her mind. But she did not take that very well. And the very next morning when she wakes up and her husband is not back from the groomers, she didn't take that well either. So she packed up her things and left. And I've been seeing, on social media, primarily Twitter, people dragging Michaela and saying she overreacted, even going so far as to call her crazy. And I'm thinking, you know what? We only get to see what production allows us to see in a 2-hour time slot. And they're not the only couple that production is focusing on. So of course, there's going to be so much context that I'm sure that we're missing just so that they can have a 2-hour program versus a 4-hour, 5-hour, whatever type of marathon. But what I have struggled to watch over the past few weeks is Zack keeps going back to this knee-jerk reaction and having a hard time accepting that she can not only do better, but that she is not a knee-jerk reaction herself. He keeps basing her personality on this one event. And it's difficult to watch someone struggle to extend grace and to extend forgiveness. Okay, so look, my camera was not completely charged, and I was so sure that I was going to be able to nail this video with what looked like 2 bars of the battery, but the battery was like, nope, we don't want to do it. So I'm gonna finish this video on my phone. Shout out to iPhone 12. Okay, so as I was saying, it has been pretty difficult watching Michaela and Zack these past few weeks because in their arguments, disagreements, they just keep missing each other, and they keep missing opportunities to extend grace to each other. And some people might be thinking, well, if she felt wronged by him and he felt wronged by her, why would they extend grace to each other? And I believe that in our interpersonal relationships, grace is very similar to forgiveness. You don't forgive someone for them, you forgive them for you. So when you are extending grace to someone who has wronged you, there's an opportunity for you to receive grace, whether it be in that same relationship or in a different one where someone witnessed you as being gracious, to then receive grace when you need it. We all make mistakes. Sometimes we say things that we don't mean, especially when we are in the heat of the moment and our emotions and tempers are flaring. So it's very important to always remember that just because this person had a really bad day, or they treated you in such a way where you're thinking, oh, what type of day did they have? Because I'm not used to this side of them. The same thing can happen with us. We all have off moments that can lead into off days, that can lead into not so great interactions with other people, because we are viewing situations through our personal lens. So if I'm hurting, I can look at situations and conversations through the lens of being hurt, and the opportunity to extend grace, I might miss it if I'm too focused on my feelings and my thoughts and how I interpreted a given situation, instead of taking a step back and looking at the greater picture, instead of focusing on one detail, which would be hurt feelings, for example. So I really enjoy when the experts come in, whether it be Pastor Cal, Dr. Pepper, or Dr. Viviana, to help mediate conversations and help the couples, slow the process down. And instead of just going from point A to point Z in 10 seconds, it's like, no, let's slow this down. What did you hear this person say? Okay, what exactly do you think they are trying to say to you? Slowing it down in that sense, so that people have an opportunity to offer clarification, receive clarification, to promote greater understanding in their relationships and in their effective communication. So shortly after, Michaela had packed all her things up and left the apartment, there was a session between Zack, Michaela, and Pastor Cal. And so Pastor Cal was saying to Zack, do you understand that when you did not come back home, there's a possibility that she interpreted that as abandonment? She has suffered with abandonment because her father, while he did not intend to die, he did die. And so taking all of that into consideration, can you understand why she might have reacted or even overreacted? And so then with that support and that help with slowing down the conversation and really processing bits and pieces, then Zack and Michaela were able to see, yes, we want to be there for each other. And then also, let's just be honest, these two people do not know each other. So when you don't know someone, and let's say they make a crude remark or they do something that you consider to be hurtful or disrespectful, if you don't know them, you don't have the context to say, well, I know that they didn't mean it that way, and I know that they would never do anything to be malicious or to be condescending or to be demeaning towards me, because you don't know that person yet. So therefore, you don't have context to be able to discern between good, bad intentions, whatsoever, what have you. So then later on in the session with Dr. Viviana, I really appreciated her taking time to say to Zack, you know, if you have not been perfect in this marriage, how can you expect your wife to be perfect in this marriage? Because basically nobody is perfect. And it was hard to watch Zack break down after that session with Dr. Viviana, because it seemed like he interpreted her attempt to normalize mistakes and hopefully normalize offering grace to each other as, I'm a terrible person, I'm hurting my wife, I never intended to hurt her, I didn't come into this process to hurt anybody. And, you know, maybe even the unspoken, I didn't come into this process to be hurt and to feel disrespected by somebody else. So it was just really difficult seeing that. And I was thinking to myself, man, you know, the scripture that says love covers a multitude of faults. But then I had to remind myself, hey, Zack and Michaela don't know each other. So they haven't had that opportunity for the love that covers the multitude of faults to grow yet. So I'll use myself as an example. My husband and I have been married for 6 years, going on 7. Woo-hoo, God is good. Definitely appreciate God for that. He's the ultimate matchmaker. No shade to the experts or production of MAFS. But because I have known him for several years, decades at this point, in addition to, you know, our relationship and our marriage and that time being put in, I have context to be able to say, okay, when my husband is quiet, it's not because he's ignoring me. Chances are it's because he is trying to process things, or he could be tired. He might have other things going on in his mind that might not have anything to do with me. So because I know him, I don't have to interpret silence as I'm being ignored and you're being disrespectful. But in getting to know him, I had to question, hey, you know, if I notice that you're really quiet, what exactly does that mean? Taking that time to ask those questions and then taking the time to apply the information to exercise wisdom in how I handle him. And I know that he does the same for me. He wants to learn more about me. So of course there's the questions and the time has been put in. Whereas in Married at First Sight, you don't have a lot of time. You have 8 weeks to decide if this person that you've married will be someone that you want to remain with or get a divorce from. That's not a lot of time. 2 months is not a lot of time. Like if we put it in the context of, for example, hairstyles. Typically I change my hairstyles like every 2 months. So if I want a bob, go ahead, get the haircut or whatever. Maybe in 2 months, you might, you know, like for example, you see me with braids. So to put that in perspective, it's like, oh, like you really do not have a lot of time to decide if you want to stay married to this person. And so there's the question of, will I be making a mistake or will I be making the best decision of my life to say yes or to say no? I don't want to stay married. It's a lot of pressure for sure. And for someone like me who is definitely a marriage enthusiast, I love to see healthy couples. I love to see kingdom couples. I love to see people grow in love, grow in grace, grow in patience, you know, grow in self-control together, you know, where they can look back and say, yes, I changed since being married to you, and I love the person that I'm becoming because of you, and I love the person that you're becoming because of our marriage and your commitment to me. Given that fact, it's difficult to see Michaela and Zack struggle back and forth over the past few weeks. So the last week, it seemed like they were getting better and getting back towards a really good place because Michaela was able to verbalize, you know, maybe right now I don't trust you as much as I want to. And that's because I feel like you say things, but then you don't follow through. And Zack was able to say, oh, well, I believe you and I trust you wholeheartedly because the things that you say, you carry out. And it's like, okay, so do you see how you can trust someone when they do what they say and how you could be seen as someone that cannot be trusted when you don't do what you say, whether it be big or small things? Especially if you fall through instead of following through continuously. If there's that continual pattern of, I know this is what you said, but I can already expect you to not deliver. Yeah, you know, trust is shot and it takes time to rebuild that. So I'm really rooting for Zack and Michaela. They're a gorgeous couple, and I believe that they have so many great qualities and so many great personality traits, and they are definitely able, you know, if they put the work in, to learn from each other. Like, Michaela has definitely shown a softer side since that first blow up, because she was told by her husband's friend at their housewarming party, hey, Zack is more likely to respond to someone who speaks to him respectfully. So watch your tone and watch your words, and, you know, just think things through before you speak to him. That was basically the gist of the advice that the friend gave her. And she started applying it immediately. So after the housewarming, having a conversation with her husband, hey, checking in, want to see how you're doing, what's going on. You know, I'm really glad that we did this housewarming, even though I was nervous about doing it, so I canceled it because I wasn't sure that we were in a good headspace. But I'm glad that we did it, because now I have an opportunity, another opportunity to learn more about you from other people that care about you. And you have an opportunity to learn about me from people that care about me. And even though Zack was still struggling with, you know, my anxieties through the roof, to go from that to last week, them saying, you know, really wanting to try, you know, celebrating their 1 month anniversary milestone and taking thought into, you know, like planning out activities for each other. That just speaks volumes, because sometimes when we are hurt, it is very easy to be it is easier sometimes to be more thoughtful of ourselves than it is to be thoughtful of someone else. Because if you have hurt me, why would I be thoughtful about, you know, the things that you're interested in? Why would I care about catering to you? You hurt my feelings. And that's where forgiveness and grace comes in. So I'm definitely, you know, pulling for, you know, any couple on Married at First Sight that wants to put in the work and they want to be a thriving couple. Like, they want to treat each other with respect. They want to fall in love. They want to have a healthy relationship. Like, those are the marriages I'm rooting for. For people who are coming in for clout, followers, any other reason aside from, I want to be married, I want to have a healthy marriage, and I want to be, you know, the basis of a new foundation, or I'm sorry, I want to be the basis of a new family unit. Yeah. If you have any ill intentions, like, no, I'm not rooting for divorce, but it's going to be kind of hard for me to get on board with you as far as, oh, trying to encourage someone to stay in a marriage where maybe they're being mistreated, they're being overlooked, they're being abused, they're being taken for granted. Like, that's not fun, because I wouldn't want that for myself or for my loved ones. So even strangers, I don't want it for them either. But I believe that that is all that I have to say for today's topic. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a like, subscribe to my channel for more content, and hit that notification bell so that you never miss a future post. And feel free to let me know what you think about this video in the comments. Are you a Married at First Sight fan? Would you ever do it yourself? Would you recommend a loved one or a friend who is struggling in the dating game, you know, to, hey, just go ahead and get married at first sight and see what happens? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.